road towards true freedom is a long one, and we have seen divisions in our society grow. Between black and white, rich and poor, between rural and urban, between the sexes, and between language groups and cultures. This has been most disturbing to many of us.
Welcome back. We're having a conversation about reconciliation. And Andile Mgxitama, let me come back to you. Most recently, you have been an ardent supporter of former President Jacob Zuma, who wasn't getting support from other quarters. And I see now there's a disagreement between you and Prins in terms of how to approach the conversation of reconciliation. What convinced you that you needed to support the former president in a way that you supposedly were blind to the things that other people were seeing, where they were saying there's a lot wrong about this man?
Well, when President Zuma said land expropriation without compensation, and he went to Parliament, I think, at least 3 times, and he said, black political parties, that's what he says, black political parties and black people must unite on this question. For us, that was enough to even forgive whatever wrong people think that he has done. But there's another consideration. When he got attacked by white people, they were marching. For the first time, white people were marching, saying Zuma must fall. When owners of South Africa, such as you and Rupert, were saying Zuma must go. We saw what they did in Brazil. So they were breaking down bricks. They wanted their own stooges, and President Zuma had become a victim, and it was our duty as black people to say, no, we are going to support him. Did it bother you at all that this is a person who had 2 terms in power and had the opportunity to effect reconciliation? Justice. The burden of reconciliation is white people's problem, quite frankly. Our burden is justice. And we're going to have to find it without white people. Yeah. We'll have to drag white people to justice. Justice means redressing. And we are a majority, we have political power, we should have done so. That question is correct. He should have done more than what he did. But towards the end, he brings free education. He says, let us unite and get land. Let us deal with the economy. You know, it took Mugabe 20 years to redress the land question. We should have said, no, you waited for 20 years, therefore, when you're addressing it now...
Why are you saying towards the end? How does it make it okay?
Well, he had changed. He had presented us with a blueprint we call radical economy transformation, which in our view is a minimum program to unite us towards getting the change that we want.
Prins, your programs seek to bring about reconciliation. Ubudlelwano. Why do you disagree with Andile Mgxitama's way of doing it?
I'm not disagreeing with the way. I'm disagreeing with the person, the persona, what he's projecting. Coming back to the pedestal, whoever is in a political party and representing a certain way of...
Well, it's not really a political party anymore, are you, Andile?
We're a revolutionary movement, and white people are not going to determine who speaks on this question. All black people are victims, and black people actually should be on the pedestal. Should be more angry than we are.
If I invite you to the next Ubudlelwano, will you come?
To do what? What's the correct way to approach it?
Are you going to give us back our land? This is the only thing I'm prepared to talk to you about. Are you going to tell white people to bring back our land?
I don't have any land to give you.
No, but you are white. You're a beneficiary of apartheid. Are you not the beneficiary of apartheid?
Of course I am.
So why don't you tell white people, your brothers and sisters, to return that which was stolen from us?
Let's watch the language. Stanley, let's bring you back into the conversation. The Institute for Justice and Reconciliation. What are some of the activities that you engage in to bring about reconciliation 25 years down the line?
So we do a number of things. Besides the South African Reconciliation Barometer, which is a public perception survey that we release every 2nd year, and next month, December, will be the release of the 2019 report. And what that report does, it gives us a snapshot about what ordinary South Africans think about critical issues facing this country, from political to social to economic issues, and people's sense of well-being. And there's absolutely no doubt that there's a very strong message that has been coming through over the last number of issues, and that is that, there's a disconnect between the aspiration of unity, the aspiration of being a united people, and the reality that people face on the ground. And so that's the one thing. But then in our programming, we actually do bring people together for difficult conversations. Now, this year, very recently actually, we embarked on a very, very specific type of conversation where we brought out with a partner organization an American writer and a person who has a PhD in whiteness, believe it or not, and she wrote a book, White Fragility. Why is it so hard for white people to talk about racism? And we've had the most amazing conversations because she speaks as an insider to white people about their racism and about their attitudes towards other people and about the fact that they just believe that the world is theirs and that they are superior and they deserve what they have. And I think that's the kind of problematizing that needs to happen in our country. And I must say, it left white people in the audiences very, very uncomfortable. But that's the kind of conversation we need to have. Because I think a lot of this is almost unconscious because there's an inherent understanding or belief that this is what we deserve. You know, the fact that we as a country, and particularly those who have more, are not angry at the levels of poverty must tell you something about what they believe about poor people. But the fact that they perhaps deserve to be there.
I suppose the big challenge, Andile, is bringing together those high-level intellectual conversations with real lived experiences.
Mandela did their dialogues. Mandela spoke to white people. Mandela cut a deal with white people. No one has got that magnanimity of Nelson Mandela. It gave us nothing. We have nothing to show for dialogue. Dialogue must end. What must happen is a systematic and apologetic program of redress driven by black people in this country and to deal with precisely what has brought about this division that we have.
Who should lead this process?
Black people should. We must lead it. That's why we believe radical economic transformation.
Is it
yes.
civil society?
The state, of course, government. Unfortunately, you know, that parliament should be showing an example. Land expropriation without compensation, for instance, you have a two-third majority black political parties. Unfortunately, they are in the pocket of exactly those who own the means of production. Therefore, we have no progress. However, we must insist as black people, across political divide, we need a minimum program that must return the land or bring dignity to black people, give the economy to black people. And that is what we as black people must do. It is our job. White people are not going to do it. They didn't do it in the past 25 years.
Are black people powerless in this process?
They're not powerless. We should not accept that proposition that we're powerless. But the enemy is very, very powerful. I mean, I can tell you now, I'm going through the court system. We say one thing and white people run to the courts and the courts listen to them. Because the owners of the means of production anyway, they are the controllers of the thought processes, of the court processes, even knowledge production.
All right, thank you so much to our guests. I think it's that part where we say goodbye to our viewers on SABC 3. Please, if you want to continue with the conversation, stay with us on SABC News Channel 404 on DSTV. We'll be back after this break.